So I'd recently gotten a job at a tech repair store and it was really chill. Whenever I didn't have any work that needed to be done, my super chill boss just let us use the insanely high-quality gaming PC and play whatever on it. Most people aren't a fan of going into work, but this job felt like a blessing. So it was around 4 in the afternoon on Friday, and I had just finished fixing my own laptop. Audio drivers failed, had no audio whatsoever. With my boss's supervision, as I wasn't too experienced with operating systems yet, and it was free of charge despite being a grueling process. My boss is literally the best. When we were done, we were discussing Skyrim, and I was completely astonished as to how a tech nerd like himself had never even played. My boss got up to use the bathroom just as a customer came in. She was in her mid-30s and she honestly looked pretty decent. She spent about a minute or two looking around at the phone accessories on the wall. "Can I help you find something specific?" "No, I think I found what I was looking for." She reached up and grabbed a pair of Skull Candy earbuds and then proceeded to head for the door. "Ma'am, you have to pay for that." "No, that's okay." I was taken aback by her response. She legitimately thought she had a choice to pay or not. The store itself was rather small, so she was out the door as soon as the words left her mouth. "Yeah, boss, this woman just stole some headphones." I yelled to him before vaulting the counter and chasing after her. When I got outside, I realized that maybe the vault was unnecessary, as the woman wasn't even running. She was just walking like she had no idea what she did. I jog up to her. "You didn't pay for that." "I don't have to." Yes you do." "What the heck gives you the right to police me around?" She got really up in my face in the most obnoxious way possible. "I can take whatever the heck I want. I can have your entire business shut down in a day." Yes, she actually said that and thought that I, a 16-year-old, ran the store. At this point, the woman is still in my face thinking she runs the world when I notice the headphones in her right hand. She starts to turn over her left shoulder to start walking away again, and I snatch them out of her hand and put it in my pocket. I was wearing khakis, so she couldn't have pried it out of my pocket. I thought this was done, but I was wrong. I'm 5'11", and this woman looked about half a foot shorter than me. She grabbed my shoulder and tried grabbing my phone. Not the headphones she tried to steal, out of my pocket, and then I got an evil idea. "Help, she's trying to harass me!" I yelled as loud as I could. Now a bit of backstory. Some kid from my high school had recently been harassed and assaulted in the Starbucks, and the entire town had heard about it at this point, so the surrounding people didn't respond too kindly to this. I started running as a few people started to converge around her. My running didn't seem suspicious because any kid in that situation would be scared and try to get out of there. I made it back to the shop and put the headphones back where I found them and tightened my grip around my own phone as I expected her to come back. She didn't come back until the next day. She said that I stole her phone and her headphone and she would sue us. "Get out now before I call the police." "I'll leave as soon as you give me back my phone and apologize. Or else..." "Nah." "Excuse me. You heard me. The only thing the cameras caught was you stealing our stuff. So if you want to explain that to the cops, then be my guest. They should be here any second." She then bolted out of the store immediately. I later found out that she's the daughter of one of the wealthiest families in the entire state, so a criminal record would completely screw up their reputation. We still had the footage and have identified her, and my boss left it completely up to me about what we're going to do about it, and I chose to press charges because I'm done with those spoiled brats that think the world revolves around them. So 5 males have broken up with this girl, 32 female a half a dozen times over the last year. Each time, it was her starting a fist fight with me, breaking my nose or destroying something expensive. Each time, I let her back into my life knowing full well it would happen again. The last time this happened was a month ago. She hit me with a glass to the face, again knowing I would never strike her back, laughing all the way. I called the cops and bled all over the road. She bailed, and they've been looking for her since. Bear in mind, no violence has been initiated by me against a woman ever. Fast forward to last Thursday. She calls, pleading to see me, and she's pregnant. She knows I won't believe her, so she sends pics of the Obgyn's paperwork and the positive test. I am absolutely floored. I still don't believe her. I know she's manipulating me in some way or another. No way am I going to spend the next 18 years dealing with this manipulative girl. She wants to keep its, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, please fasten your seatbelts and lock your trays into the upright position. Also, Abusers out there, you may want to take a note of caution. Here's the rundown to date. I canceled her health insurance. Unweed partners are insured at my company. I blame the paperwork she failed to submit. I had forged it happily for her prior to her cracking me in the face with a pint. I actually just called HR and dropped her. It was easy. We will need to wait a whole year for open enrollment for her to get insured, or some other public program will have to support it, or owe a gazillion dollars in neonatal care. Tell her I think we should get married. We won't. Hold on, folks. It's going to get a little rough. She comes over to my place. The glee in her eyes completely masks the menacing hell awaiting me. We talk about marriage, and she decides a pregnant wedding isn't really what she wants, and we should go with getting rid of the baby. Wedding, and then do a full-on, we can get pregnant ovulation, measuring, nature, time and book, reading pregnancy. She is excited, very excited, about her next pregnancy. Not this one. She fake calls to schedule it. I called the center she told me she's getting the procedure at, and they confirmed there's no one with her name that called or booked an appointment. I knew it. Fast forward to the now. This is now. This is the denouement of my evil plan. At 9:30 a.m. tomorrow, I'm going to leave her during the surgical procedure. Tomorrow morning, I'll be holding her hand, comforting her, caressing her head while she's complaining of post-procedure pains. And then I'm going to tell her to die in a fire right there in the parking lot of the center. Then I'm going to leave. So many times as she's left me bleeding by the side of the road, feeling empty inside. Finally, I've got a chance to fight back. Update. It went down exactly as I planned. Here's the best part. That time she hit me with a pint glass a month ago and then disappeared. The police took a basic statement from me. Based on that statement and photos of my nose, bedroom, and a bloody cup in a bag, they filed felony charges. I found this out by receiving a phone call from the DA's office while driving her to the clinic, with her in the car. Let me tell you, she went ballistic. She was not violent, thank God we were on freeway, but was absolutely terrified about going to jail. She was screaming. She cried her eyes out, blaming me for calling the cops and getting too much blood on the carpet. Even though it was the maintenance guy who called 911, and I'd run straight out the door and across the road. Get arrested, sit in jail, go to prison. Have a felony prior on your record to warn all the dudes you're going to manipulate and beat on in the future. Wonka face. Sounds dreadful. I told her I thought the DA's charges were way excessive, and that I'm going to cover all her legal fees to fight them so she doesn't sit in jail, prison, whatever. I made some calls, in her presence, to a super expensive law firm, got the full run, down from the attorney on all her charges and warrants, defense strategies, shared all this with her, put her in touch with an attorney, who I will never pay a dime to, and assured her that we'll take care of it. The next morning, she went home. I'm supposed to come to a retainer appointment with her Monday afternoon. I consoled her expertly, got her to stop crying and to go into the center. So after the procedure was done, I met her in the parking lot and told her to come run an errand, really fast with me. I got her into the attorney's reception lobby and left. She's going to be there all alone at the attorney's office, who will remain unpaid and unretained, but she will have some sheriff's deputies waiting for her outside when she goes to leave. She's facing 2 felonies, a misdemeanor, $150,000 worth of warrants with no collateral for bail, and I'm going to do absolutely nothing to help her. This happened back in 2010 when I lived in Winter Garden, FL, with my husband and his dying uncle. Background. My husband and I moved in with his sick uncle after losing so much during the 2008 housing market crash in the U.S. Like many of my husband's lawn maintenance customers, we also moved in with his uncle into a condo because his uncle had stage 4 cirrhosis of the liver, and his self-entitled sister and her family refused to help take care of him. My husband, a retired Seminole County Sheriff's officer, important later, and I got ourselves set in the condo's 2 bedrooms as his uncle had himself set up in the living room, including his bed. On the first day, we found dangerous black mold caused by a leaky dishwasher. On the second day, we found the master shower had loose tiles and a leaky shower head. On the third day, we found a nest of brown recluse spiders in the living room. We talked with his uncle about these problems and found out that the slumlord, friends with self-entitled sister, aunt, and her family, was refusing to take care of the issues as required by law. We wanted to start legal actions then, but my husband's uncle talked us out of it several times. The slumlord was nice to us so long as my husband's sick uncle was alive. The very next day after my husband's uncle died was a completely different story. Slumlord had turned nasty, aggressive, and began to try and strong-arm evict us like we were nothing more than drug-addict squatters. Slumlord even bowed up and aggressively tried to fight my husband when we dropped off our next rent check. He kept telling us that we had to move or else, but yet refused to follow actual FL laws to evict us. Slumlord and his corrupt Winter Garden PD code enforcement officer wife even recruit my husband's self-entitled aunt and uncle to start harassing about just moving even if we had to live in a tent. Self-entitled aunt: why don't you and my RSO nephew just move so they can rent the condo to another senior? Husband: we don't have anywhere else to go yet, and he must go through eviction laws or get into very serious trouble. Self-entitled aunt: you're nothing but trouble. Retired SCSD officer nephew: you've been causing problems since the day you were born. Get out of their condo and stop being a problem for everyone. Who cares if you have to live in a tent? All of this made my retired SCSD officer husband, who specialized in uncovering corrupted law enforcement, very suspicious. We talked and began investigating Slumlord and the corrupt code enforcement wife. My first order was to place all rent into escrow with evidence of repairs that have been neglected. Second, I sent a notification of cease and desist of harassment to the slumlord and self-entitled aunts. I researched public property tax records. Whoa, pay dirt there. Slumlord's condo wasn't registered as a rental property with the state of FL and was paying far less in property taxes than Slumlord should have been paying. Property tax records also showed that Slumlord did not own the condo. It was still deeded to his mother, which I found out had been living in a retirement home for 5 years before my husband's uncle moved in. My husband found out that corrupt code enforcement wife had been inspecting and signing off on hers and Slumlord's properties, including the condo, which is against FL code enforcement conduct laws. I found out from neighbors in the condo that Slumlord had only been renting to seniors with severe health issues. My best discovery, though, next to tax evasion, was finding out that the Condo Owners Association had a very strict no renting leasing policy, meaning you or family had to live in the condo and couldn't be rented. The revenge. Now that we had all of our evidence, my husband and I began to knock down all of the slumlord's dominoes. My husband went and filed a complaint with the Winter Garden Police Department about corrupt code enforcement wife and her perjuring inspections on her family properties. My husband has a glowing record in Seminole County, and with the FDLE for having over 200 clean arrests and taking down nearly 60 corrupt public officials, including Child Protective Services, in the early 2000s. This background helped push WGPD to open an investigation into corrupt code enforcement wife. They discovered that not only had she perjured inspections on her family's properties, but also on my husband's self-entitled aunt and uncle's property as well. This got corrupt code enforcement wife fired, stripped of her state enforcement officer's license, and convicted of multiple crimes. I sent all property tax fraud evidence to the FL's Property Tax Division. That got the state to investigate Slumlord. The state found that not only did he commit property tax fraud on the condo, but also on property that he was renting to his son and self-entitled aunt's son, along with business tax fraud and income tax fraud. Both Slumlord's son and self-entitled aunt's son were also busted for possession of illegal narcotics, with intent to sell, when investigators came to the rental house where they lived. I never expected that much fraud to be found from all of this, but I'm glad it happened. The business tax fraud of Slumlord affected self-entitled aunt and self-entitled uncle as well, since they were his business partners. Self-entitled uncle then came under investigation by the USPS as he was the postmaster of Winter Garden. Self-entitled uncle lost his comfy job and pension after it was discovered how he was assisting Slumlord in the tax fraud scam and for stealing money orders. All four were convicted of multiple white-collar crimes, had to sell their properties and most of their stuff, serve some form of time, and pay huge amounts of fines and restitution. Slumlord, his wife, hubby's self-entitled aunt, and hubby's self-entitled uncle, along with their sons, all went down for multiple crimes, both felonies and misdemeanors, all because they thought they could strong-arm evict us. Just proves how smart we tenants can really be when pushed. also proves why everyone should know all rental laws and how to research public records because it can save you in the end.